What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the official UFC fight gloves. Alright folks, as always, I am incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today we have the official UFC fight gloves, which just like the Everlast Power Locks I reviewed a little over a month ago now, about a month ago. Basically, these were featured a little bit ago, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago on the channel, when I broke down all of the major brand fight gloves between UFC, Ryzen, Bellator, One, and then PFL, and a couple other regional promotions. And the first one that I wanted to review was the Everlast Power Lock. Now I want to get down to the official UFC fight glove, and the reason why is because this glove has drawn more controversy than any other glove in MMA, in my opinion anyway. But a lot of people complain about a lot of things like, oh, they promote your hand to stay open. Oh, there's so many broken hands in the UFC and everything else like that. And I debunked a couple of those things. I'm going to talk about them more as I review the glove in depth. But basically the whole point of that video was kind of to talk about, how those gloves operated fight night and why that wouldn't work so well for some athletes. This is after a couple months of training in them since. And I'm going to talk about these gloves and how they performed and how they held up over a while, and if they got any better from where I reviewed them a while ago. Which, if you remember, they were the lowest thing on my list. They were the worst glove out of like the 8 or 9 glove lineup. Them and the One glove. I did not like the One FC glove, but this here is the official UFC fight glove, and I believe the model itself is called Ultimate Combat, and I got these off of Spirit Combat Sports, which is licensed through Diaco, who actually makes the UFC fight glove themselves. Now, kind of going into the glove itself, basically the UFC has gone through a couple different brands over the years, starting with, I think the first official UFC fight glove was Boxergenics, and it was those gloves that have like the cross at the bottom and look like an arm doing this, I believe. And that was way back in the mid-90s. And then for the longest time, they went through Iwano, which I reviewed their fight gloves as well. They were like the original big MMA manufacturer of gloves. They're the ones that made gloves for people like King of the Cage, UFC, a bunch of other guys. And then Century took over for a long time. And I actually have a bunch of Century UFC gloves. Well, not a bunch. I have a couple signed. They're more for signing. And I bought those at UFC 210, which was in Buffalo, New York, which is about 3 hours from me. And I had a couple guys sign it. And now they go through Diaco, which I believe is based out of China. And Diaco basically kept the Century model as far as the MMA glove went for the UFC. Now, like I said, there's a lot of controversy with these gloves. I mean, I name athletes, but I need to name literally every UFC athlete uses these gloves now. And a lot of people say that eye pokes are because of the glove, that broken hands are because of the glove, that the UFC has the worst glove, period, compared to a lot of other brands out there. And so that's something that I kind of wanted to do and review. Talked about it in a video that I'll post in the link in the description below. I implore you to watch it. But let's go right into the glove, starting with my exact model is the official UFC fight glove. It only comes in this color. Black and white, as basic as it gets. It's a black glove that says UFC across. That's the only colorway that you can get. And then I got this in the XXL sizing right here that you can see. If I'll maybe zoom in. Jeez, that's not focusing very well, is it? What about that? There we go. So it says XXL right there on the wrist strap. They have multiple sizes ranging from extra small, which I even think they have. The sizing chart is pretty accurate too. If you measure your hand a certain way, it fits pretty well. And I think they go all the way up to triple or quadruple XL. So you have a lot of different sizes to pick from. And obviously they have them in bulk in production because each and every UFC fight, these guys get a brand new pair of gloves. I think the rule is in the UFC you have to like auction them off or something, or give one piece of your equipment to the UFC after you're done fighting. So you're able to keep these and train in these. And I want to say that any UFC fighter can ask for these, and they get them for free. So they can train in them, so they can train their hands for it. But talking about the look of the glove, it is, like I said, as basic as it gets. It is a completely black glove. The entire striking surface is black, except for the UFC logo here. That is a classic UFC logo that you can see with a hyphen F and everything, until we get to here, and it says the official fight glove of the UFC right there. So that's in red, and that's in white. We turn around here once again to the wrist strap, and that is the XXL right there. And then when we open it, there is a tag on the inside, and I believe this is the sanction. Let's see, it says 2020 Zuffa LSE, all rights reserved, right there. But I've had these for much shorter than 2020, so I wonder if these were, overstock or something. But I would like to say, not to be removed until delivered to the consumer. This label is asphyxiated with compliance with its provincial law. This article contains new material only. Yeah, so these are basically just what the sanctioning is. So basically, if I didn't buy these, it would actually have a sanction tab on it saying that these were fought in a complete glove. And I don't know why I haven't really taken these off yet. I might actually do that, but then it has your standard warning label. It's used for high-risk activities and stuff, and I think it pops right off. So yeah, I don't even know why. Usually I hate tags, and I just noticed that I had a tag. But the tag is basically telling you what it's made out of, and then, yeah, made in China. So this label on the right glove is actually different because it says made in China. So that is for sure. Diaco is made in China. But we'll take those tags off now because I don't need them, and I'm never going to have a sanctioning body look at them. Going into the make of the glove, like the actual design of the glove, is actually, I was really impressed with the outer shell. On their website, it says it's made of 100% top quality leather, and I give them credit where it's due because it is a really nice, soft, and supple leather that actually has some thickness to it, not a whole lot. It is stretched pretty tightly over the padding, but you can kind of see I'm able to roll and pinch just a little bit there, like not even a half inch. It's like not even a quarter inch. It's a little less than that. But the padding, the leather itself is super soft right out the gate. Actually, when I got out of the box, I was really surprised at that. They come in this little carrying bag. But I was surprised as to how soft the leather was. But it is stretched kind of tightly over the padding itself. But when you smell it, it smells like a really good quality. It smells like Venom gloves, like that Napa leather. So it's like car seat leather, and that's not actually bad quality. So the UFC charged a bit, and I think it's because, for one, you got this big UFC logo, but I think the leather is actually pretty good, and you can kind of tell because of all the grain marks. So, I mean, the leather is actually pretty well made and tanned, and I like that. You get that all the way throughout the wrist strap, too. You can tell it's not, like, forcefully grained there. It came in looking like a good quality leather, which was really surprising. The area I don't understand is the knuckle padding. Now, most fight gloves will have, like, multi-layered foam nowadays, but this has a completely solid gel knuckle area over the knuckles and over the fingers. So this whole piece is one solid piece of gel across the knuckles. And the easiest way to explain how it feels is when you have those winning NG2 knuckle guards. That's exactly what this feels like on this side here. It just basically feels like the winning NG2 knuckle guard, and it's honestly just about as thick as the winning NG2 knuckle guard. So the padding is very thin at the front of the knuckles and the fingers. Now, because of that padding being one solid piece, and because of how tightly the material is stretched and the way that the finger kind of outlines like this, you can see that the fingers do not curve like, say, the power locks. Well, they do a little bit, but not too much. That's just from me curving my hand for so long. But like the power locks or the Ryzen gloves, old school Pride gloves, these gloves do not curve so well. And I think it's also because all of these finger compartments, as you can see, they're not individual like the other gloves I just mentioned are. It's one solid finger lineup. So this is all one solid piece. and you don't have like individuality with each glove. So if you move each finger rather, so if you move one finger, the rest of the fingers will move, which I don't like too much. But overall, the padding, I don't get. I don't get why gel padding. Usually gel's used for, training gloves, and you would do that, or to protect your knuckles in most sense, but you see so many issues with breaking your hands in the UFC. But going into the wrist support, I actually wish every MMA glove kind of did it this way because it works perfect. You have the main strap to keep everything in, and it's actually a pretty long, lengthy, and thick strap for an MMA glove, which isn't too bad. It doesn't make grappling difficult at all when you wind it up. There is no padding at all in the wrist, and it's so far separated from the knuckles. When you ball your fist, it's different, and I'll show you that in 1 second. But there's no padding at the base of the wrist at all. It's all just basically leather just hanging there with the Velcro, which is also black, if I didn't mention that earlier. But here's what I love about this glove. You have another wrist strap that opens up like this. So to put the glove on, and one thing I will say is after breaking it in, my fingers still need to crawl a little bit, but it fits a lot better. But talking about the interior lining, it's just kind of like a cotton, like nylon liner like you get with most other MMA gloves out there, and it feels okay. It's not rough on my skin. It's actually quite comfortable on the back of my hand as far as that feels. But I mean, if you're wrapping your hands anyway, you're not really going to feel the inside. But like I said, I gotta crawl my fingers in because that leather on the inside here is kind of stiff still for whatever reason. But if I just crawl, my hands get right in there. What I mean is, if I just take this off, the glove, I like to have two separate parts almost. One that's attached to the wrist and one that lets the knuckle padding kind of curve over. But if you notice when I just close like that, it's pulling all of that up. So if I really strap this tight now, so I take that. Some people might not like doing that. I personally like this the most. And like I said, it's not too thick of a strap. It's very easy to grapple with. But now it's like when I squeeze, you can kind of see that all of that is lifting up off of the back of my wrist. And it's because of all that leather and my fingers being in one uniform part. It's like a strenuous task for me to just squeeze tight like this. And I have it on the right hand, on the left hand, but it's on the right hand, if you know what I mean. And you can tell by the fingers lining up. Someone thought in one video that I had it wrong, but you can see the fingers. The pinky's the shortest, and it goes to the tallest and the second tallest here with the pointer and middle finger. But I can see why people break their hand, because you have to squeeze very hard to keep this. It's very strenuous to keep this fist closed. Now, does it promote me to open my fingers? I don't think it's promoting me to do this. There is not a glove on the planet that can stop me from doing this, trust me. But when I close my fist, I'm straining because there's so much padding being held back and so much material down here being held back. It's such a top-heavy glove. Other than that, it provides decent knuckle support because of the gel padding. It's hard as heck, so I can see why people would get rocked getting punched with these. It's actually softer than the Everlast Power Locks. Those Power Lock foams, the C4 foam that they use, is just so hard. This is definitely softer, and it broke in well over time, as well as the leather. But it's just, I have to strain to make a fist at all times. I personally don't like that, even after using these for months after the first video. So if I were to make any type of improvement, I'd make these like individual finger compartments, and I'd also maybe make this a bit more free and maybe stitch this not quite as tight, because when I squeeze, it feels like the whole rest of the glove is trying to pull my hand back, and I just don't like that. But overall, they're not too uncomfortable. It doesn't promote me, because watch, if I just rest my fingers will go here. But if I'm squeezing all the time and then I go to grab you, I mean, that's just kind of how the eye pokes happen, in my opinion. I don't think it's the design of the glove, other than I have to strain and make a fist. It does promote grappling. It's very easy to get grips, especially with the open thumb here. I personally wish every glove had a thumb guard, but pro gloves don't. But you get very good grips. It's very easy to reach around the back of the neck, head, very easy to slip under the neck. It's very well suited for grappling. Grips are even kind of hard to get because the rest of the glove is trying to pull you back. But let's go into the bag work and we'll get my impressions on how that goes.
All right, so hitting the bag right off the bat is, I noticed the knuckle support is not bad because of the gel padding. It will protect your knuckles, but you just have to squeeze so hard to keep your hands closed. You can actually see me in between each punch. I'm opening my hands and, and sometimes squeezing it so much, my hands do get a little tired after using them for so long. The other thing is they are good for grappling, I will say, but overall, I just don't like to have to squeeze so hard at all times. That's my one gripe. I don't mind hitting the bag with these as compared to some other gloves. So, I mean, if you've seen any UFC promo, they look just like the UFC glove. The grips are good, palm-to-palm grips, S grips, even basket grips you can kind of get with these gloves. Wrist grips are great. You can definitely wrestle in these really well. They were designed for, grappling really is what they were designed at the end of the day, and just to pad the knuckles enough to protect your knuckles. Like I said, they look like every other UFC glove that you've ever seen. I think a lot of people in the gym might maybe laugh at you for wearing UFC gloves. Like my teammate sees me, they're like, "Oh, you're in the UFC," and stuff like that. But like every fighter would dream to put these gloves on. I mean, I want to fight in the UFC too, so if you want to get one step closer, go ahead and buy these gloves. I guess they look pretty cool.
All right, guys, so my final verdict for the UFC official fight glove is it could be good. I don't think it's the worst thing out there now after using it. I mean, has it served me well? I mean, I'd prefer to use a lot of other gloves out there, especially for the price point. I mean, you're really paying for that logo there. If you just took that logo away, it's not nearly as expensive as it is. It probably, for me, would be half the price, in my opinion. And I just think there are some flaws that are so easy to correct. But I mean, to redesign it, I mean, you don't see too many guys breaking their hands as much anymore, but you're going to see it. I mean, Stephen Thompson breaks his thumbs every single time. I blame that for not having a thumb guard or the way his hands are taped. I don't know. But I mean, a lot of guys break their hands, complain about eye pokes, which happens a lot in the UFC, and you don't see that in a whole lot of other promotions. You see it sometimes, but not always. It is usually, you see it in the UFC. And I don't think it's because the glove promotes it. I just think it's because it makes it so hard to keep your hand closed. And this is the culprit right here. That little stitch right here is keeping the top part of the glove so far away from the back that the whole glove is one solid unit. It just doesn't make any sense for me, especially if you want to be able to grapple and move your wrist and stuff. If I move my wrist while my hand's closed in this glove, it's going to start opening my hand. Just to show you, I'll put it on my right glove, my right hand this time. Like I said, when I put this on, crawl in, you can see how that just kind of splints up. So imagine that's your wrist. Usually if you have this on, it'll move a little bit, but not a lot like that. Even if I just strap it a little bit down, let me find the strap here, just watch how that part is coming up. So every time I'm squeezing, I gotta bring the whole glove while this part is trying to pull it back down. Same thing happens if I strap this tight now and just look at all that space that just opens up on the back of the wrist. And I'm gonna try and strap it as tight as I can now just to show you. So that's as tight as that's gonna go. Now I'm gonna really pull that tight, and it's still kind of making it difficult for me to keep this closed. The other thing I really wish they would do is make these individual finger slots, because watch, if I want to move one finger, everything else has to move along with it. It's hard to move it comfortably. This is as fast as I can really do it compared to, say, the Bellator gloves or the Ryzen gloves that have the individual finger slots. These do not, and it makes it hard. I feel like if you just cut the different individual slots and have this part here, it would work a lot better. Believe it or not, after breaking these in for a while, the knuckle support is not bad, and that's because it's gel padding, but I still don't understand the whole gel padding idea in a fight glove. It does soften up, but when I first got these out of the box, oh my God, it felt like it was harder than the power locks. But now it's nice and soft. You can actually see all the indents of me pushing in here. And the gel padding will make these gloves last a long time, which is nice. You see why so many guys will train in these for their upcoming fights. I mean, everyone uses these for pad work and grappling work and very, very, very light sparring. But I mean, would I spar in these? Oh God, no. Light sparring, light sparring, yeah. But these are definitely fight gloves for a reason. But I think if they made the finger compartments individualized and maybe even put some padding at the back of the wrist like this, it might save it. And kind of make it that hinge type at the top. So the top would be individual from the bottom so I can close my fist easy. But just doing this alone, and especially when you put like a fight wrap on, which I have done in these, it's hard to keep my hand closed, which is why it's like you find yourself even hitting the bag, you're constantly like going to open. And it's just, I don't like that at all. It bothers me. I don't like that. Where the glove does shine though is it's durable. The padding is good for your knuckles, which is nice. The gel padding will definitely keep your knuckles secure, but you're also squeezing. Everyone knows if you squeeze too hard, that's going to prompt bones to break. Your wrist bones, people think they break outwards, they break upwards and snap upwards, and your knuckles would break outwards or down. That's what I worry about, especially since you're squeezing so hard and boom, everything just is going to pop up. But I mean, if they made it not so tight, then I think it would be a really good fight glove. The leather is very high quality. I give them that. That might be part of the cost as well. But I mean, 90% of the price, I'd have to say, has to do with the UFC logo. I mean, UFC charges out the ass for everything, you know, and I'm not taking a shot at Fighter Pay or anything. I'm just saying the UFC charges out the ass for everything. So naturally, this is going to be pretty expensive at $120. It's $119, and they even raised that, I want to say, from the last year. When I bought these in like the middle of summer, they were, I think, 100 flat. I could be wrong. They might have been 120 at the time. I'd have to go back and look at my order. But $120 for these. I'd get power locks. I'd just jump another $80 and get the Rising gloves, which I think is too expensive for any MMA glove. But I mean, I would get the PFL gloves. I'd get any type of training glove by any brand. I'd rather get the Combat Sports $20 pro fight glove, to be honest with you, than these. If these were like $40, $60 maybe, I can see that, and I'd buy them again, maybe. But the training, I mean, honestly, they're more for a display piece at that point. I mean, if I ever want to get to the UFC, I'm going to have to get used to these gloves, and I'm not saying I'm ever going to get there, but I'm just saying if I ever were to get there, I'd have to get used to them, and that bothers me. I hope they're fixed by then. I know they had a whole issue with Trevor Whitman. He wanted to make MMA gloves for them, but Diaco is the people they have, they signed on with now. So, it's really hard to say. If I were to give these guys a rating, I'd give them probably a good 5 or 6 out of 10. I think there are way better gloves out there. I mean, the price drops it down big time for me. You're just going to have guys that want to train in the official UFC fight gloves. Save your money, get something from Sanibel for $20 that are better than these, in my opinion, because these don't promote safety for me, for the athlete, not for the guy that you're punching, for you, the athlete that's punching with these. I see too many problems in the wrist, having to squeeze constantly to keep the punches going. I mean, they're pretty true to size, and you got a lot of variations on size, but obviously this is the only color that you're going to get for the official fight glove of the UFC. This is what every fighter fights in, is these gloves. But I mean, if I were to choose, I'd rather get the $20 Sanibels. Honestly, I think they're better than these. But they look cool. They're the official thing. There's some redeeming qualities about it. Like I said, they're durable. I think these would last you a very, very long time. I think you could run them through the mud and they'd survive. Between the gel padding and between the leather that it's made of, it's great. But the construction of the glove, the actual glove design, the wrist and making it squeeze too much and the fingers not being able to move, everything you virtually need, you'd need to break these in more than I have. And I've been using them for months now. So I really wanted to go over that. But as far as these go, they look cool. They smell nice. The leather's nice. The padding's nice. But the design is going to get people hurt. And that's why I give it a low rating of, I'll stick with 6 out of 10, because there are some redeeming qualities. And some people I know in my gym even train in these and say that they like them after a while. And they're using them every day. So to each their own, I guess. I wish that if I were to fix it, I'd make this 2 separate parts. I'd make the wrist its own part that was a bit separate and give some space to the hand compartment instead of making it one solid unit of a glove. It works good for boxing gloves. I don't think it works very good for MMA gloves. I think you need a part that will work like a hinge up here that is not 2 stitched to the bottom here. And that's my opinion at the end of the day. But overall, you know, that's my take on the UFC fight glove, and I guess I'll end the video there. If you have any questions, please comment below. Ask me, you know, what I thought about these, what type of training I did in these. I did everything from rolling, bag work, you know, anything else you had questions with. They work good in clinch and stuff. I just think they tire my hands out for having to squeeze too long. But overall, I mean, I think they're very easy fixes, and if the UFC wants to stay at the top as far as equipment goes, I know that's not what they're in for, is the equipment. I think it's a well-deserved update to their UFC fight glove. They've had the same design since the mid-2000s. I think it's time to, you know, kind of move on and update it, in my opinion. But with that said, guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. But above all, comment, because I want to know what you want me to review. And I read all of your comments, I promise. Sometimes I don't always respond, but I'm reading all of it. And I'll be happy to reach out and do anything that I can do. Hopefully some more fight gloves to come up soon from that one video. I think I have my eyes on the next one. But overall, this was the UFC official fight glove. Follow me on all my social medias. Thank you for watching. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.